today we are going to talk about upskilling function, especially in the field of finance. So we are looking at how we can improve our skill sets so that we become a better finance manager and a better leader in the world of finance. Uh, this entire upskilling is incomplete unless we first talk about what are the drivers which has led to a situation where finance is at the cusp of transformation today. So we'll talk about the entire finance transformation that we are currently undergoing through, how long it will take to have the entire transformation, what are the drivers behind this transformation. Now, since there are new set of drivers, since the business conditions have changed, since the environment have changed, there is an onset of digital technologies. So there have been multiple impact on corporate finance function as a whole. Some of these we have already started feeling, some of these we will get to see in the years to come. So we'll talk about a bit on the impact of corporate finance, about all the entire drivers of the digital revolution. We'll look at how the digital future of finance will look like. So going ahead from here, how will our finance team, finance function look like in the years to come? Then, since the nature of the finance function, since the expectations from the finance leaders itself are evolving, this automatically requires we all maintain the force, we all maintain the momentum of upskilling and reskilling. And then we'll be talking about what kind of upskilling, what kind of reskilling will help us to get through this journey, what kind of upskilling will make us relevant in this entire era of change that we are going through. And then we'll conclude this with major takeaways. So accordingly, the presentation has 4 or 5 different parts, but keep asking, keep answering, and probably we will be going through this entire journey together. Now, before we talk about the kind of finance transformation, let me first understand from all of you about what is your understanding of probably the highest paying jobs in the field of finance. That will probably help us set the focus, and that will also help us set the tone of the kind of transformation that we are going to see. So let me start with a very basic question on Paul, and let me see what your thoughts or opinion are before I get to the topic of finance transformation and the digital revolution. Meanwhile, I'll just minimize the control windows so that
Can you confirm if you can see the poll on your screen?
Yes, we can see. So, ladies and gentlemen, kindly participate in the first question. Let me see what your thoughts are. Investment banking had been probably the most lucrative career in finance, primarily because of the huge bonuses it's associated with. And that's the reason why people who are in the field of mergers and acquisition, people who are in the field of equity research, capital markets, they are getting paid so well. So that entire bouquet of services fall under the investment banking. Traditionally, this had been the most preferred choice of people in the campuses across all colleges, be it IITM, be it IIM, or be it any other tier 1, tier 2 colleges. Let's see if this answer changes by the end of this session. So let's see if people still find investment banking to be probably the most lucrative career by the end of this session through another poll question that will come. So now that we know what had probably led to the biggest contribution to the wallet, which particular finance function has led to the maximum contribution to the wallet, which happens to be investment banking. Let's now see whether this contribution from investment banking will undergo a change in the years to come or not. Let's see what will contribute biggest to our wallet in the years to come. And that's the reason why what do we need to understand and what do we need to do today so that we become a part of that entire transformation in the revolution. So in the current scenario, we are talking about a finance transformation, or entire overall of the entire finance processes, workflows in the system within an organization. It's not a small incremental change. It's not just about adopting the digital tools. It's a fundamental reimagination of the entire finance function. I mean, it's like a complete changeover and the makeover the way finance has been doing so far. This is the finance function which will harness the power of digital technologies. Finance will just be the enabler. It will be supported by lots of technologies behind it. And then eventually the finance that we are talking about, it will be of technology-driven finance. It's not going to be just a set of manual processes. It's not going to be just a set of people trying to reconcile the ledger, people trying to reconcile two balances, people trying to write annual reports, people who are trying to just push up an equity research report. It's going to be a different era altogether, where probably lots of automation will happen, where probably all the traditional and the conventional roles of a finance team, such as, for example, reconciliation of the ledger, reconciliation of the accounts, all those things would have already got automated. The processes will be well defined, very streamlined. We are talking about decentralized ledgers and smart contracts through blockchain. So it's going to be a totally different way the entire finance world works. This digital transformation, which will eventually lead to the finance transformation, is going to be supported by lots of technology. We are talking about multiple digital technologies which have already started impacting our life and which will probably be the biggest driver in the years to come. So digital transformation is a fundamental reality for the business today. It's no longer probably an option. It's not a question of yes or no. It's a question of how quickly, when should we. So if I quote late Warren Buffett, digital transformation is now probably a reality. It's also a necessity for the business today. There's a good chance that if you do not be a part of this transformation, your competitors will, and eventually you will be left out in the journey. The transformation, as we have talked about, it's something which will be driven by digital technologies. So it's important for us to understand what are the reasons behind this transformation. So we are now passing through a new age landscape. We are passing through a phase where we can clearly see the brick and mortar business models of the traditional time giving way to digital business model. We are looking at new age business models, and the characteristics of new age business model and digital business models are not something unknown to all of you. The entire business model is shifting from the physical, from the premises, from the confines of the offices and factories to an online presence, which has got no barrier. Businesses are no longer just having a local and a regional focus, and probably businesses no longer have the flexibility of time to go national and international and take 10 to 15 years to reach there. A startup within first 6 months is now talking about going national. Within 12 months of its existence, a startup is trying to become international. So we are talking about an exponential scale where the business and the business processes will move. Gone are the days when people on the people on the streets were trying to chase customers. Gone are the time when manufacturers were trying to sell whatever they wanted to manufacture to the customers. It's a time where customer has become at the center of the entire business model. Customer drives what he or she is looking for. Customer has got multiple options. Accordingly, multiple marketing channels have evolved. So the conventional marketing channels of brick and mortar model, conventional marketing channels where feet on the ground were working to bring the sales. Now people all across the ecosystem in which you are operating, it can be social media, it can be LinkedIn, it can be Twitter, wherever you go, people are trying to come up with a different set of marketing channels, trying to approach you, trying to understand you, trying to understand the customer behavior. And this has given way to a totally new type of agile business model. Earlier, we were restricted by data. The first question itself was how to collect the data. We didn't have many tools, softwares to collect the data. An age came when collection of data became easy, but then its analysis, its interpretation was restricted. We have passed that stage as well. We now have multiple tools which can give us a good analytics, a good information about the data. Earlier, there were no tools which could have prescribed what should be the action plan. Today, an age has come where regenerative AI is giving us a prescription. And regenerative AI tool is telling us what to do next. There are challenges and limitations associated with such kind of models as well. The world around is working to improve those, but the day is not far when the entire data analysis will move from an analytical piece to a prescriptive piece. Customers are looking for convenience. Customers are looking for 10 minutes delivery. Customers are looking for satisfaction or instant gratification. Customers in India want probably everything to be delivered within next half an hour at the best of its quality and the cheapest price. This won't happen unless business model turns toward efficiency. This won't happen unless business models speed up. Digital business models, new age business models are exactly trying to do the same thing. In the metro cities where we have already seen traditional business models giving way to new age business model, people earlier used to go over weekends primarily to eat in hotels, restaurants. Now Swiggy and Zomato has become a part of our day-to-day life. One half of the weekends used to be devoted for normal purchases for the next week. Now we can place orders at Amazon, Flipkart, and so many other platforms just at a click of our mouse and be comfortable because all the goods will be delivered at the doorstep. So these are the business model transition that probably major part of India has already seen. All the tier 1 cities, metro cities have already seen, and it's already underway in tier 2, tier 3 cities. So the day is not far away when probably physical marketplace will become very far and few and very selected. So this entire new age landscape has led to a new piece or a new shape for the finance function as well. We have to be the finance managers which our businesses need. We are no longer just one department. We are no longer just one function. This entire finance has to be integrated with the business decision making. It has to give the different point in time. It has to be an equally agile finance function as our business model will be. Now, the agility to this entire thing will come only if we integrate technologies with the entire finance revolution. So our wallet revolution will be driven by multiple technologies. There are many of them. Internet, social media is full of technologies that is going to drive the digital revolution. But we'll be talking about 6 or 7 key technologies whose effect we have already started seeing and which have a bigger role to play in the years to come. The first technology, as anyone would have guessed by now, artificial intelligence and machine learning or machine learning driven algorithms. They have the capabilities to analyze vast data sets. They can identify the patterns which are probably missed by human eyes. Even if we can process the data, even if you can spot the trend, there is no guarantee that we'll be doing it correctly and we'll be doing it within the time frame allowed. If the entire day is available with you, probably anyone like you, anyone like me can pull out all the trends in the data. But the point is that we don't have that much time. The customer is not willing to wait for that much time. We do not have the luxury of time to pull out all the trends. A good thing about the technology is that they can pull out all the trends. They can do exactly what human beings are doing, but at a much faster speed. I can perform a 5-digit multiplication by another 5-digit number. You can do that, but there is no guarantee that I'll end up coming or I'll end up doing this correctly every time. Technologies once taught how to do a multiplication will never make a mistake. So the bigger other benefit out of artificial intelligence and machine learning based models is that they are able to do things correctly. Human beings have been learning, have been self-educating, have been updating themselves. We have the habit of learning from ourselves. Until so far, we didn't have a technology which was learning on its own. AI/ML based business models, AI/ML based algorithms have the ability to learn on their own. So AI/ML probably have all the limitations of human beings sorted out in terms of speed and accuracy. And it has probably the feature that differentiated human beings from the rest of the intellectuals. That is the feature of self-learning. So AI ML is probably going to be the biggest revolution that will impact the entire businesses, and hence it will also impact the finance. We have already multiple use cases of AI ML in the finance function. We'll talk about some of them, but this is going to be the biggest technology that will eventually drive the finance function. The second one will also be the blockchain, which we'll come and discuss at an appropriate point in time. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, if you look at the entire data science process, all such algorithms, they need to be trained. They need to be trained on the past data. They need to be trained on the way things have happened in the past, so that they can learn, so that they can give you something as a forecast. This entire training and everything will happen only if we have access to huge data, only if we are collecting data all across our journey. Big data and analytics are doing exactly the same thing. Big data and analytics support the entire digital revolution by giving us the touch points and the ability to collect data all across the customer journey. Analytics helps us identify the trends over there, feed it into the algorithm, train the algorithm, and make them more suitable and apt for making further predictions. So big data and analytics are going to be key supporter for AI and ML based algorithm. Robotic process automation is the third technology or a tool that we are talking about. This had been very, very effective in automating the routine finance tasks. RPA has already been implemented by lots of companies, especially in US and India. We are yet to see many more companies adopting it, though the culture has already set in. So automation of the routine finance tasks will give the entire finance team a lots of bandwidth to undertake other value-adding activities. It will reduce errors, and it will, of course, speed up the entire finance function. So RPA is the thing to watch. This is something that India should adopt, Indian companies should adopt very, very quickly. While AI ML transition will still take a little time to happen, but RPA is relatively easier to implement. RPA is relatively cheaper to implement, and this will probably bring the financial revolution or the transformation that we are talking about quite sooner than AI and ML. Blockchain is probably going to be the second technology beyond, besides AI and ML, that will revolutionize the way finance operates. Blockchain is again a technology where probably every transaction is added to the already existing chain of blocks as a new block. And that's the reason why this is called a blockchain technology, because every new transaction becomes a new block of the bigger chain. It will be interconnected network of multiple nodes at which multiple computers and points will be sitting. Your suppliers will be sitting, your customers will be sitting, you will be sitting, your banks will be sitting. It will have a decentralized ledger kind of thing, a ledger which will be under no one's control, a ledger which will be under everyone's control. I mean, something when you say that if everyone controls a particular thing, it's as good as saying that no one particular person controls that thing. So it's going to be a decentralized finance. In a conventional finance rule or a finance setup, there is one person who passes the transaction. There is another person who checks the transaction. There is another person who approves, authorizes any change in the transaction. Because there are multiple layers involved at every stage, the function is slow and function is prone to errors as well. Blockchain technology is talking about one decentralized finance system where probably everyone will have access to everyone else's ledger. Anyone can initiate a particular transaction. Once it gets approved by a select number of nodes in the entire system, it will get added as a new block in the chain, and all the ledgers will automatically get updated. We are talking about smart contracts. Such smart contracts will have deliverables identified. Once those deliverables have been met, it will automatically lead to the transfer of payment from one entity to another one. So these are the smart contracts. This will not wait for any human intervention. This will not wait for any particular approval. Once the conditions of the contracts have been met, payment will be automatically done. So it will ensure faster transactions. It will ensure transparency. It will ensure people to be in complete control of the entire thing. It will speed up real time, and this is probably the only technology that will, for the first time, bring a real time cross-border payments. There are faster technologies that ensures cross-border payment today as well, but still not real time. This is something that will probably enable it. It's still a couple of years away. I mean, many more years away, but this is the kind of finance, this is the kind of financial world we all are anticipating and hoping for. Internet of Things is something that has already led to transformation in industries. Industrial transformation 2.0, 3.0, and even 4.0 have been achieved through a bigger contribution of Internet of Things. IoT is also helping us do lots of improvement, especially in the field of electric vehicles, the data that we are collecting through electric vehicles, and the design of the BMS. It's a totally different type of revolution that has led to the industry, that has driven the industry so far. It's also going to, that has driven the operation so far, that is going to impact finance also. It has already started impacting finance as well. There are many use cases of Internet of Things as well. It's eventually nothing but a network of interlinked wireless devices, but it collects and exchanges data in real time. So gone are the days when camera at one place used to upload the photograph, then at another place, another cloud-based server, somebody over there used to scrutinize the pictures, photographs, delete some of them, approve some of them to move on. Then there's a third person from some other server trying to access those entire photographs. There's a fourth one trying to read those photographs and take a decision. It's all now an integrated wireless device, and people can collect data, exchange information, pictures, photograph in real time. So this has gone a very big way and speeding up the things, making the entire process transparent and simple. Cloud technology is the underlying against all of them. Cloud technology has led to development of many finance apps. Cloud technology is behind lots of financial apps that are going to come in future as well. So AWS solution, for example, is an example of cloud-based solution. So these are 6 or 7 technologies that will probably, they have been driving the digital revolution, and they will also impact the finance function in the ages to come. Now, the impact of digital technologies is something that has been felt across, or that will be felt across all the ecosystem. It's not something that will only impact the customers or suppliers or my competitor or me. It's something that is going to be present all across the entire ecosystem, because such a kind of transformation will not come unless every element of the ecosystem is adopting the digital technologies. So it will require hyperconnectivity, it will require data sharing, it will require trust, it will require edge computing, automation of multiple processes. In the process, it will impact on the right-hand side almost every sphere of activity that we are doing, either as a finance person or as a non-finance person. So data analysis, process optimization, decision-making, system controls, system processes, the entire environment in which the organization as well as different departments function to operate, this is all going to be impacted. In the process, we will have business efficiency coming in. This business efficiency will probably help us in reducing the cost and offer our offerings more, make our offerings more affordable to our customer. Decision making will now be more data centric. Gut feel, the role of gut feel will probably slowly start reducing. The models will help us prescribe. The model will be eventually giving us 80% of the prescription. We will still require human brain probably to bridge that remaining 20% of the prescription. But the role of these technologies will make data adoption and data-centric business model adoption quite fast. It will lead to a totally different kind of collaboration and access and engagement that one party has with the other party. This is going to be a world where probably so much of interconnectivity will be there and so much of data will be getting collected that eventually human behavior, a customer behavior is something that will be known to us on a real-time basis, and hence probably businesses can experiment one thing very quickly, say yes or no, experiment the other one, experiment the other one, and eventually finalize or come to that one, that business model which supports his or her client the most. So go to market, experimentation will all become a very short span activity. With this entire transition that we have talked about, you know, the the role of these technologies or the kind of support that this technology is given, it has now changed completely prescriptive analytical tool becoming a prescriptive analytical tool. The value proposition gets maximized only if tools become more prescriptive in nature. The point is that once I understand the historical data, once I know the trend, once I know the analysis, what to do with that. A technology or a model or an algorithm will help us only if, to some extent, it goes in predicting the future outcomes. It tells us that probably this is what will happen, and hence prescribe certain set of actions and recommendations for us. So the analytics is already on its path to move from just a descriptive or diagnostic analytics to a predictive and prescriptive analytics. And that's when probably the maximum business value will come from the data and analytics. Our finance function has already started seeing this journey. We have got multiple machine language problems that are now getting solved by algorithms. We have formulated several business problems related to management of inventory, related to uh, 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 prediction of default, or related to fault or fraud detection. All these improvements that we are seeing in our corporate finance functions are eventually an outcome of technology. And all these algorithms are giving us certain rules, they are giving us certain direction. The regenerative AI is already a step towards giving us a prescriptive analytics. It requires further improvement. That's something that we all agree. But the use of this is something that we cannot deny. We are using all this technology already for summarizing the document, for reading through the document, for identifying the right clauses in the document, or doing some kind of search. So earlier searches used to happen on the basis of keywords. Now searches are happening on the basis of themes. Regenerative AI can give you a clause in legal language, something that you want to insert in a term sheet, something that you want to insert in your contracts with the suppliers, customers. It can identify, simplify a particular clause for you. Something that were initially the work profile of the lawyers, a good portion of that work is already being done by these tools. And our adoption of those tools in our day-to-day working is going to make us a better finance manager, primarily because we now understand the document far better than we used to do it earlier. So the biggest function of corporate finance, the biggest value to the corporate finance and the business will come in the years to come, when probably the entire analytics role will shift from just being a diagnostic tool to a prescriptive tool. There is some time to come yet, but the journey has already started. We are talking about this journey, and this is the eventual upskilling that is required by all of us. So before we now go to looking at what will be the impact on the finance function, I think time has now come to understand from the audience what they think will be probably the biggest impact making technologies in the years to come. So Mahima, if you are there, you can just run the second poll question. Please participate. Please let us know what do you think about the impact, or which technology amongst this is going to help us the maximum in the future years. Majority of you believe that AI, ML, RPA, blockchain will be the biggest job creators in the years to come, and you are right. Harvard Business School has called AI, ML to be the sexiest technology of this entire decade. For the first time, when you ask, or people when asked in the campuses, that what is the kind of job profile they are looking for, the toppers of the batches and the people across different batches in different colleges, they are naming AI, ML based jobs data science-based jobs as their first preference in comparison to investment banking. So clearly there is going to be a transition from investment banking, which all of us believe that had been the highest paying jobs, to probably data science or the technology driven jobs, which will be the biggest job creator in the years to come. They will probably contribute maximum to the wallet of the people. And that's the reason why we all need to upskill, reskill to make sure that we are making the most of that wave. When McKinsey conducted a survey with top finance controllers and CFOs across the globe to identify which functions in finance can be automated using the technologies that we have talked about, this is the summary of the answers that you can see out of that survey on the left-hand side. Every finance function, if I consider fully and highly as an indicator of positivity or the positive force about the automobility of the finance function, then you will see that almost top 5, top 6 functions have as good as more than 50% of automatability coming out from this. So senior finance professionals across the globe believe that at least 50% of the functions can be automated using the technologies that we have talked about. Very few functions related to external relations, business development, to some extent even financial planning and analysis appears to be very difficult to automate with the technologies that we are talking about right now. But that is the situation right now. Regenerative models are currently not giving us the kind of forecast and the projections that we all are looking for. But if the perfection or even certain improvement happens, then financial planning and analysis is also something that is going to be automated to a large extent. But majority of the top 5, top 6 functions, which also happens to be probably the routine functions, which also happens to be the laborious manual intensive processes like payment, disbursement, revenue management, they all have very high potential of automatability in the years to come. And these technologies will eventually end up doing it for us. So we are talking about a transformation where accounting operations, revenue management, payment system, disbursement, they all will eventually be done very speedily and correctly by small automated machines, tools, or algorithm. Of course, they will be done on the basis of certain rules. There has to be some kind of control over there, but it will still not have the kind of human intervention or the controls that we have as of now. There will be multiple benefits that will come out of this digital transformation. Of course, easy data management, improvement of regulatory compliance, timely compliance, insight-based decision are the ones that we have already talked about. But at some places, this will also help us improve the operational efficiency. It will help us remove the redundancy. There will be time saving, there will be cost saving, there will be speed and transparency to this entire process. So the benefits of digital transformation is something that world have been talking about. We are witnessing some of them already in our real lives. But once we get closer to the kind of transformation that we are talking about, all these benefits will become quite evident. This has also led to a little concern about the job losses in the market. There may be certain redundancy that will get eliminated. There may be certain job losses that will also probably be the part of this entire thing. But trust me, most of the organization will get through this by redeploying the people and assigning them the task which requires more of the gray matter rather than the routine activities. So there may be certain job losses, and probably not to be a part of that. The only solution for all of us, it's not that it's something that is impacting only you or certain section of people. The only solution for probably all of us is to be a part of this entire upskilling and reskilling. We have time, the world around has developed to such an extent that we can undertake upskilling and reskilling at the comfort of our house. And that's the reason why we should make the most of it while the time is still there with us. The financial planning and analysis process that I talked on the previous slide, why it's very difficult, it's to get automated. It's primarily difficult to get automated because we eventually want some kind of plan, business plan, or actionable coming out of this. The tools are giving us trend, the tools are giving us what has happened in the past, and on the basis of that, it can also predict to some extent about the future. But the prediction still remains a black box. How it is coming to that particular prediction is again something that cannot be very easily explained. So impact on financial planning will come in the coming years. But despite the limitation, the technologies have already started impacting the entire process of financial planning across the organization. Coca-Cola uses automation to streamline its entire budgeting process. This has helped them reduce errors as well as save time quite a lot. It has led to greater efficiency in the entire system. But only the routine financial planning task has been automated to an extent. Probably a bigger chunk of financial planning is yet to be automated. In the entire S-curve, we are yet to come across a regenerative AI which can give us a projection for next 5 years, along with an explanation that why, how this should be coming. So probably the three-statement modeling or the financial modeling that we are talking about, I mean, in the current version of regenerative AI, it's not possible. But you are expecting that at some point in time, this entire three-statement modeling, financial modeling will eventually get automated. Siemens is another example where probably the budgeting accuracy has improved by 20-25% just by uses of digital tools. It's again one of the cases that I have been coming across, and that's where these numbers or the statements are coming from. Amazon, Amazon, we all have used that platform, we all have used that app. Amazon uses real-time inventory management, and that's the reason why 99.99% of fulfillment happens at Amazon. Amazon delivers 99.99% of its order on time. This cannot happen unless their app shows the real-time inventory, and this cannot happen unless their app is integrated with the app of the suppliers and fetch the real-time inventory position from them. So Amazon uses real-time tools for inventory management and use that also for the purpose of pricing. When things are in lesser supply, the prices will go up. When things are in more supply, the prices will come down. Similarly, budgeting and forecasting is another activity where probably the tools are helping us. Again, to begin with, on the initial part of the job, good part of the forecasting is yet done manually in Excel files, in Excel sheet after conducting lots of meetings. Tools have not come to that level of intellect where they can do the forecast and probably explain it as well. So that black box still remains, but it's again an area where probably the future technology is going to work a lot and it will do wonders for us. Microsoft is already using data analytics to optimize resource allocation in its marketing campaign. Procter & Gamble is using technologies to reduce 50% of their forecasting errors. I have personally used an AI/ML-based program to forecast demand for my own startup 2-3 years back. It will be unfair to say that the tool was not serving the purpose, but at the same time, I will admit that the tool was giving us result or that kind of purchases which probably were not matching with our business requirement as well. So as I said, the tools and the programs have their own limitations, but nevertheless, that makes the task very easy. In the absence of anything, this tool is definitely better. And forecasting, demand planning is not a requirement of one particular business, it's something that is haunting all of us, all the businesses. We hope that technologies will eventually make the forecast coming out of these algorithms very, very accurate in the years to come. This is a big headache that will eventually go out of our head if we end up getting a very good demand forecasting tool, which can provide us scenario-specific forecast, which can do what-if analysis for us. Now, Ford is another company which has been using artificial intelligence for the purpose of scenario planning. But it's a company of that stature. The tools, algorithms that we are talking about here, they are very expensive. They require lots of money eventually to get trained, and that's the reason why it's still not a cup of tea for multiple MSMEs. Even in the bigger world, probably there are just 4 or 5 key players which are eventually able to get the maximum out of AI and ML. That happens to be Amazon, Google, Microsoft, IBM, to some extent even Siemens. They are the only ones who are capable of developing all these things in-house. There are many other players who are writing small code, small tools. Their impact is yet to be seen, but in the years to come, all these things will change. The entire machine language, entire machine learning and AI will be offered as a service so that you don't have to develop everything from scratch. You can always integrate your API, call the particular machine learning program, train it on the basis of the data generated from your business in the past and make it suitable to make forecasts for your own business. Financial analysis is something that will again be eventually impacted by these technologies. Financial analysis is very core to any organization, and mostly the company deploys the sharpest brain to undertake financial analysis for the company. Now, this entire financial analysis can also be done by lots of predictive models. Predictive models can identify potential financial risks, their probability, and therefore one can design multiple risk mitigation strategies based on these predictions. So, example to quote here will be Airbnb. Airbnb uses cloud-based analytics to gain insights into customer preferences and thus undertake lots of pricing strategies. Airbnb is just one example, but even Amazon, Flipkart, and most of the e-commerce platforms that we're talking about, they are already doing lots of financial analysis to understand consumer behavior and hence accurately price the product. Even Netflix, in a way, is doing an analysis on the movies and the shows that you are watching and the ratings that you are providing. On the basis of your past behavior, Netflix gives you a recommendation. It prescribes a bouquet of shows that you should be watching for. It's again an example of an analysis of a consumer behavior. If that is possible, probably replicating the same to undertake financial analysis in future is a very normal course of action that will automatically come. Similarly, there are many financial services functions which have already got impacted by these technologies. So whatever you see on the screen, these all have witnessed maximum impact of AI ML so far in the finance side or on the business side. So machine learning actually works by figuring out the insights from the raw sets of data that we generally provide to train it. On the basis of that, it solves or it comes up with some kind of recommendation and which are getting used all across. Now, those recommendations need not always be true. They require still human intervention to probably offer that last 20% of the improvement. But we have already seen algorithmic trading, financial advisory, insurance technology platforms, investment technology platforms, monitoring platforms, which are using these tools very, very heavily to work out a specific investment advisory or an insurance policy or a portfolio balancing for their existing customers. So financial services have already started seeing the advent of all these things. Now, these are the places where there are multiple use cases that is already in progress. Investment management, insurance, banking. Banking is something, I mean, the way our parents have done banking in their own time versus the way we do banking now versus the way our kids will do banking in the years to come. I mean, there's going to be a remarkable shift and something that's not hidden from us. How have they become possible? They have become possible primarily because of the advent of technology in finance. The fintech companies have completely revolutionized the way banking is done. Banking is one sector. Apart from that, investment management, insurance, the credit lending. These are the financial services that have seen a different kind of transformation. There have been APIs, there have been open source code. People have been using all of them into one place to minimize their go-to-market strategy. Credit tech platform can be up and running in just within 6 months' time. I mean, that short is the go-to-market time now. They don't have to write all the codes right from scratch. The codes are already there, APIs are already there. They have to just integrate their API with the API of credit rating, with the API of collection, primarily to end up setting up their entire business in the first 6 months. They are now ready to scale within the next 3 months. This is the impact of technology. It has led to an exponential growth in the entire and exponential improvement in the way the businesses are conducted. One can continue to talk about this, but eventually, what is in it for us now that we have understood, and probably it's not something which needs to come from me. The entire world in and around primarily knows that digital upskilling is something that is on the cards. The digital future of finance is very, very different from what the kind of finance we have seen before. It's a finance function that will eventually be looking into employee productivity. It will eventually be at the back of planning, budgeting, strategy setting, decision making, and eventually the performance management. So what is in it for us? What do we have to do eventually? How should we become a key player in this entire revolution? That's the question that we all are here for, because we all understand that it's not going to be the way it had been in the past. Whatever has brought us to this point will not help us maintain the position we are in future. This is not something that will probably help us in future. So what is it? So the data science, AI, ML that we have been talking about is something that is going to help us. We as a finance professional, we are supposed to be identifying which problems that needs to be sorted out by technology. We do not have to be a person who is an expert in writing the code. If I learn the entire, so if I get to see the entire, I'm just removing the control here. If I get to see the entire data science process, as a senior finance professional or as a finance professional, our primary objective is to make sure that we are deploying the technology to solve the right problems, because these technologies deployment are not cheap. Secondly, not every problem can be solved by the technology. We have to figure out those problems where the benefit of deploying the technology turns out to be more than the cost of such technologies. Secondly, deploying such technology itself requires another type of skill set. We can still be a finance professional without knowing even a single line of code to leverage the technology for our uses. We can be a no-code AI ML professional. But the idea is not to be a person for whom the technology is complete black box. You cannot survive if the technology remains a complete black box for you. But at the same time, you don't need to be an expert in coding. You have to develop your own intuition that will help you understand what business problem can be solved, how it can be solved, guide the entire data process team, which will be comprising of lots of coders, developers. Eventually, they will do the task. But the person to guide the entire team to come to the output is going to be us, is going to be the finance professional, it's going to be the business team. And you won't be in that particular spot till the time this entire technology remains a black box for you. So the time has come for all of us to get into understanding this technology, and that will come only if we are able to upskill and reskill. These are some of the data science problems that people like us are supposed to solve. You have to formulate the entire problem. Maintenance team needs to be equipped with the predictive maintenance schedule based on your data of the breakdowns in the past, based on the maintenance schedule of the machine. The tool can create a predictive maintenance schedule for the entire maintenance team. But for that, lots of data is required. For that, a particular code is required. Now, whether this is a business problem that is worth solving for your organization or not, you have to take that call. A finance professional, a business professional will eventually end up taking that call. Eventually, how will the problem be planned out? How will it be tested? What should be the raw material for the learning process of the entire model needs to be identified. How will the output be tested? Who will eventually say that this output is going to be correct? Against which benchmark? This entire thing needs to come from a business guy. The data science team is full of developer, coder. I mean, they will do what you say or what you ask them to do. But what do you want this program to do? Which particular business problem you want this program to be solved is something that has to be stated by us. In order to do that as well, we require lots of upskilling and reskilling. And that's the reason why this particular slide tells you what are the skill sets we need to equip ourselves with in the years to come. Every finance function that I will see, be it investing, trading, some of you are stock trader yourself, some of you are working in the corporate finance function, financial planning function, people are from insurance, banking, financial statement analysis, financial modeling, portfolio management, all the activities that we are seeing, they will eventually require people who has got finance knowledge for sure, along with some technical know-how and knowledge as well. So the finance function is now going to be looking for those people who have a good understanding of accounts and finance for sure, but they should also have an understanding of a little bit of AIML, a little bit of statistics, a little bit of mathematics, probability, Excel, Python, SQL, R. So these are the technical aspects that will automatically get integrated with the finance function. We require skill sets which have a good combination of a little bit of tech as well as finance. So pure finance may not help you navigate this entire transformation we are talking about, and we are lucky to have some time with us. Even I am trying to upskill, reskill myself. I spend a lot of time looking at AIML and how it can solve some of the business problems that probably my startup or someone else's startup is facing. Because if I deploy a manpower to solve each and every problem that I encounter in my startup every day, it's very unlikely that I will get them solved on time. All these problems that remain unsolved is going to act as a barrier for you. So what should we do? As long as we understand that we are embracing continuous learning and lifelong education, you are safe. How successful you are is going to be dependent upon your plan, but always start with learning by your goals, identify the skill gaps, identify where you want to go, develop a learning schedule, join the communities in and around you, attend webinars, conferences, speak to people in and around you, look at webinars, look at courses, look at online platforms that can help you update, upskill. So the entire journey, I mean, of course, it requires effort, it requires dedication, it requires time, but it's not as difficult as upskilling or reskilling used to be in the past. We have got multiple options, we have got multiple choices, and some of you would already be making use of those platforms and making use of those choices in your life. The point is that is not whether I'm going to do, whether I'm not going to do. That choice is probably no longer there. We all have to. Otherwise, our situation, our circumstances will force us behind. It's also difficult. I mean, you already have a work life, you already have a family life, and then the third thing is trying to come your way. It's going to compete with the time that you are spending with the family or the time that you are spending with the work. But probably it can be done in a relatively easier and relaxed manner now. So there are multiple platforms that you can now see that has come up. Even if you are a part of an organization, you have to, I mean, once what you have seen here is what you have to do individually, but even as a part of the corporate, as part of the corporate or an entrepreneurial setup, you have to ensure that your entire team steps up, the upskill, the reskill. And for that, you will have to analyze the situation, identify the gaps that exist, design an upskilling and reskilling program for your own counterparts, for your own friends, for your own team members. Provide them training. You can incentivize them to take the training online, offline, whatever it is, but it's something that's going to be required by the organizations as well. So not only organization, it's also probably a responsibility of the senior leaders. Make sure that they are upskilling, reskilling their entire team well in advance, not only for the finance. I mean, even though my discussion presentation is meant for finance, but it's something that is equally valid for every other function in the organization. So there are multiple online platforms which are now available that allows you that flexibility to reskill, upskill yourself at the comfort of your house. Even I look at multiple courses here and there. Every 1 hour that I am free, that is freely available with me. Every 45-minute slot, even at late night, whenever I'm sitting in front of my laptop, desktop, I'm trying to see a program or watch a video or learn something new. Even I'm at an equal threat, because the onset of ChatGPT, I mean, the day I saw the output of ChatGPT for the first time, it gave me a chilling, it sent a wave in my spine. I had a very strong feeling that at one point in time, it's going to take away the jobs of every person like me. Thank God it has not happened now, but I know that is something that I cannot fight with. The best way to probably improve myself is to integrate with them, learn, and come to a level where I myself become a master of those technologies.